How is it going, folks? Welcome back to Park to Prem. Today is a transfer special. Get your popcorn, get comfy. Today is going to be a longer one as we attempt to build our team ahead of season number 5. Of course, last episode we had the playoff final. If you didn't see it, go check it out. In game, we are here on the 4th of June, earlier than you might expect, and the reason for that is we've had a board takeover. Yes, the takeover has been completed here at Guernsey. Neil Swales has taken over. He's not a tycoon. He's not a multi-millionaire. If we look at the landmarks, he's just a local businessman. Good news, though, he's injected £14,000. That's like a 2 weeks' wages he's put in the bank balance. Not the best investment in the world, I'll be honest. One good little bit of news is he's not changed too much about the club vision, so we haven't got to worry about things too much. Not so good news, he has terminated our 2 affiliates, the FC of Isle of Man and also Bristol City we can no longer use, which is a bit annoying because Bristol City is a senior affiliate. We're just about to become useful, just about to hit a point where we could loan players off them and, we're not affiliated with them anymore. As a result of the takeover, the board have lifted the transfer embargo. The finances, we're in the positive at least for now. We've got season ticket sales. I need to organise a load of friendlies as well. Given the fact I'm about to hit, I believe, the last year of my contract. Indeed, I am. Apparently, I'm wanted. I'm wanted by Luton. No, thank you, Luton. I'm going to ask the board for a new contract. That request has been granted. Guernsey offered me a new contract. It is going to be a how many year deal? It's going to be a 2-year deal that I can't extend. I could negotiate this stuff or I could hit finalise. I'm going to hit finalise. I'm just glad the new chairman wants to keep me around. We are still about a month away from the start of pre-season, so with that in mind, let's run the intro and I'll see you guys come July the 1st. Let's do this. It is July 1st in game. It is episode number 25 as well of Park to Prem today. We are, well, in a situation where I can't believe we're 25 episodes in. It's a little bit scary. Not quite as scary, though, as the fact that we've been promoted to the Vanarama National League, where our media prediction is 20th. And just to remind you, the board expectation this year is a mid-table finish. I feel like we've got to improve the team a little bit today. But before we talk about that, I want to have a rant about work permits. Because one thing that we have made use of during our time here at the club is signing players from slightly further afield. Players like Carlos, players like Rossi, players like NLBM, players who we could get work permits for when they were free agents. I've got some, should we say, problematic news? If I just go to Rossi and then go to work permit, his work permit has been accepted to 2027. I've been informed he's not going to get a work permit on renewal. You can see the sequence of events here. Agrees to a new contract, we pay £20,000. Work permit's rejected. I lodge an appeal and pay another £5,000. Then it gets rejected, and then he decides he doesn't want to sign for me. So, as a result of that, Rossi's here to the end of the season. He is our best player by a country mile, and the reality is, I probably need to try and sell him. And that exact same cycle of events has happened with Carlos as well, whose contract's also up at the end of this year, so as a result, trying to sell him. Good news, I think, is I have had a offer. I am somewhat ambitiously asking for a little bit more. So I know what some of you are thinking, Jack, what does that mean for NLBM, our French prince? Well, good news, he signed a contract to 2030. Here's the weird thing, though. He didn't get a work permit either. I rejected it. The appeal was rejected, but he was still willing to sign for the club because he loves me, which is very touching. And then I triggered a contract extension just to try and get his contract as long as we can, thinking, well, if we're going to lose him at the end of his work permit at the end of this year, then I might as well have a long contract so I can get as much money as possible when he doesn't have a work permit. But if I go to the information tab on work permits, it says he has an active work permit to 2030, which is weird because it definitely got rejected. And as a result, I have no idea if we're going to be able to play him beyond this season when his original work permit was set to expire. So look forward to that mystery. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to get a work permit or not. That is one little bit of drama we've had to deal with. The other bit has been losing a couple of squad players on free transfers. Dylan Crow, Tajera and Shatayo all leaving the club. Players who are very much fringe players. Perhaps Dylan Crow the most notable of the misses, but he wasn't amazing this Park to Prem. Last year, he was a hero. This year, he's kind of a footnote in history. And I'll be frank with you, he's just not very good anymore. Another player who's left us is Zach Atkinson, who's left us to go to Pompey. I can't believe Portsmouth have signed him. I can't imagine he's going to play much for them. And as much as I like him as a player and do think he's a good, well, individually would have been useful for our team. I didn't want to pay him the kind of money he wanted. He has signed for £700 for Portsmouth to play in their under-18s. By comparison, our highest earners are on £450. So I couldn't really compete with Portsmouth's money. What you might notice here is we have got a few new, slightly higher earners. Some of these players have had their wages increased as a result of promotion. A lot of these players, however, have signed new longer-term deals. The likes of Iwuemene, Farquad has signed a deal to 2029 alongside NLBM. Harry Kite has also signed a contract extension. And as a result, we have got the vast majority of the players I consider part of our starting 11, at least right now, contracted beyond the end of this season. So as I sit here right now, we have a squad of 22 players, and I think over the last season, it did get a little bit bloated, the squad. As we made signings during the season, we weren't getting rid of players at the same rate. So despite the fact we've lost a few squad players, the actual core of the team is not unreasonable in size. It's not too small, it's not too big. It's kind of just right. Maybe space for one or two more additions, but if we are going to make new signings, we are perhaps going to have to look to move some players on. As I sit here right now, this was the team that ended the season. I feel like it was a pretty good team. Of course, we are anticipating Rossi to potentially leave the club. Do I think Iwuemene can make that step up to be a box-to-box midfielder at this level? I mean, my staff seem to think he can. And across the board, whilst I don't think we've got too many superstar players, I do feel like we have got a team that is kind of ready-made to play at this level. As a result of that, I think a lot of our transfer business is going to come down to what players are actually out there and available. I think a new right-back would be amazing if we could get one. Maybe a new centre-mid, maybe some slightly different players in the wide areas. If I was going to be hypercritical, Will Murray was a bit lacking last year, and Willox out on the left-hand side had the occasional moment of brilliance, but actually, for the most part last year, wasn't all that incredible. It's weird, we are at a point where there's no obvious gaps in the team, and actually the team that we have, I'm pretty happy with. And I know I've said that the last few years, but I do feel like this season, rather than trying to grow too quickly, trying to shoot for the sun, we're better off just being happy where we are on our own little planet. We don't need to reach the Football League this year. I wouldn't really mind a year of consolidation, and despite the fact we've got almost £4,000 wage budget excess, don't envisage we're going to spend all that much of it. Our traditional pre-season games against a load of Football League teams have been scheduled to help out on the finances. We'll keep an eye on the season ticket sales, and with all that said and done, I think I'm ready to make some transfers, see what's available, and hopefully, over the next month, this team is going to be in a better shape than when I left it. First action of the day, though, sell Rossi, sell Carlos. If I can get money for those two, that would be very, very useful. Especially because I paid £20,000 for Rossi's work permit, which he didn't even get. I've handled it well. Does anyone like work permits? No one likes work permits in Football Manager. I hate work permits. I think I've made my stance clear. Okay, I'm pretty relieved about this, and it's a very funny team that have come in for Rossi. We did a save with a team called Monopoly in Italy, and our local rivals was Barry. Well, good news, everyone. Barry have turned up, and Barry have bid £215,000 for Rossi, which the chairman's accepted, and I'm okay with that because we were going to lose him at the end of his contract anyway. We get 50% profit of any next sale, and they've offered me the ability to loan him back to the end of the year as well. I mean, I tell you what, this is quite the turn of events for Barry, a team that I'm meant to hate, and right now, I think I love them. I've just noticed there's a resign button in the bottom right corner. I need to resist the urge to click that. Little bit of interesting news here. Scott Williams, remember him? Star centre-back? Sold him to Blackpool. We get 30% of any profit made on the £230,000 he was sold for. Right now he is transfer listed for £2.3 million. If that sale was to go through, they would be making £2 million of profit, of which we'd get 30% of that. So we'd be getting like £500,000, £600,000 if anyone bids on him. So, yeah, we might be about to get a load of money from nowhere. We've also reached that part of the year where I'm just taking loads of players on trial to see if any of them are any good. Apparently, of all the players we've looked at, Sadie might be the best. He's like a baby Rossi, by which I mean he's nowhere near as good as Rossi, but my staff still rate him quite highly. Apparently, he could be a League One player in the future. He would have to improve quite a lot for that to happen. This guy looks amazing. I don't think I can say his name, though. Konstantinos Christodoulou. I mean, if I could learn to say that quickly, it'd be incredible. He was released by Southampton. He looks really, really good. I did notice he has a temperamental personality, but every football team needs like a nutter. I feel like that is a motto I can live by. I'm going to say he only wants £500. That's not cheap, but that's definitely within the realms of negotiation. What about 3-year deal, £400? 450, 3 years. I'll give him a bit more of a signing on fee. £450 for, oh God, Christodoulou. I need a nickname. Christodoulou. He looks good, right? He can play anywhere across the front. I like him a lot. The temperamental personality's scary. I could offer him a trial, but I've got carried away and excited and just tried to sign him immediately. But no regrets. And if you're wondering how he popped up, I was just looking at player searches for players with at least one international youth cap, flicking through some of these players, just seeing what's available with them sorted by world rep. In reality, I should probably just offer all of these guys trials rather than just going through them one at a time. Another filter that can be kind of useful is if you go to international and then national team, you can basically pick between main national team, youth team, or under 19s. This can sometimes be a good way to see players who are currently actively involved in kind of youth international football, like this guy, Ryan McGuinness. I mean, he's not very good at jumping, but as a right back, he's rather good. I think Charlie Osborne, our current right back, is shaking. Ryan, do you want to come on trial? I'm going to offer him a trial. Teams want him, apparently. 20 clubs. Might be difficult to sign him. There's some big teams here. Christodoulou, we hardly knew. Yeah, I was just starting to be able to say his name correctly. Bath, Port Vale, Worthing have all made offers for him. He might be a tricky one to sign. I might have to offer him more money. Good news, though. Ryan McGuinness has agreed to come on trial with us. The 18-year-old Irish wing-back, I think. I know he's naturally a centre-back, but between his heading and, well, just the fact he's quite quick and good in the wide areas, he's a right back, isn't he? Carlos has left the building. Bit annoying that I couldn't get more than the £25,000 that he cost us to try and get him a second work permit. But at 21 years old, 1 year left on his deal, I might as well try and get a little bit of money for him. Elsewhere, McGuinness has joined us on trial, and we already knew he was good. Can confirm he is still quite good. Apparently, he only wants to be a breakthrough prospect. He wants a ridiculously cheap contract here. I'm going to do a thing. So in Football Manager, there is a line that if you get a player to say, they are almost guaranteed to sign for you. This guy has such outrageously low kind of requests for how good he is. I'm willing to overpay a little bit to ensure that those 20 teams don't make a signing of him. And what you need the player to say is this line here. I probably could have offered him a little bit less. But if the agent says, my client feels that this is a very acceptable offer, and you make the negotiations, it doesn't matter what teams bid on him, who's interested, anything like that. The next continue, he will agree to sign for you. So if there's ever a player that you really want, and there's loads of teams interested in him, but his wage demands are super low, be aware you can just throw a load of money at that player and get them to instantly accept. And you know what? It might seem a bit rash, a bit like a rush decision. This man is absolutely outrageous. He is a sick right back. And that was maybe the one area of the team, when you looked at star ratings, where you could go, yeah, there's a weakness there. Apparently, he's an exciting prospect who isn't far away from the first team. I mean, just going to do it again. Comparing with Charlie Osborne, our current right back, he's definitely going in the first team this year. I have just remembered Lien, who I had last year. You might remember we signed him, played him a little bit with a Mohawk. He actually spent the second half of last season out on loan and had a really, really good loan spell where he actually developed quite a lot, to the point where this year, he was already probably good enough to be a squad player. He definitely can be a squad player for us now. And elsewhere, talked about in last episode, forgot he existed, Jeffries. You might remember we were able to snap up. This guy is a bit of a younger prospect, but can play left back. Good coverage there. Suddenly the defence feels quite fleshed out. We've gone from a situation last year where the defence was definitely the area of weakness to all of a sudden, it's our best position. I don't want to get too carried away, but I feel like between Gallagher, Roscoe, Williams and McGuinness now, alongside McDonald in goal, this is a really, really good back four and goalkeeper. And with the depth we've got, and with Charlie Osborne's versatility to be an option on the bench, you can play a more defensive midfielder role or as a wing back, I'm feeling quite happy already. I know that all these teams have made offers for Christodoulou, and as a result, I kind of want to offer him a little bit more. I do feel like he's that good. I know he's temperamental. I know he could be a bit of a loose cannon, but given the fact we've just sold a player for £12,000, and Rossi's also potentially going to be on his way out, I'm going to offer him a little bit of more money to try and sweeten the deal. Unfortunately, because of his wage demands, I can't get him to say the magical line, the agent, of saying my client thinks that's a very acceptable offer. If I had more money, I could try and trigger that line and he'd automatically sign for us. But instead, I'm just going to offer him a little bit more and hope that that's enough. Matthew Nolan and Livingston have come to me and said they're thinking about leaving on freeze at the end of their current contracts. They are two players which at best would be squad options for us. A few years ago, they were really, really vital cogs in the machine. But as the last few seasons have gone on, they've kind of fallen into relative obscurity. And of course, with a player like Nolan, with the new defenders we've brought in, I'm kind of looking at the moment and thinking Jeffries will play on the bench for us. If I just compare the two of them, you can see head-to-head here, whilst Nolan might be a little bit better, he has more injury proneness, he's on a lot more money, he wants to play more football, which I can't give him. So I think for both these players, I'm just going to basically accept the fact they're going to leave on frees. I'll probably just look to try and sell them this year to save some wages. Gianluca Rossi has left the building. We have made £215,000 of that sale. I say he's left the building. He's still in the building because we've got him on loan to the end of this year, which I think is pretty good for us. It means we're not paying any of his wages. We've got more and more money in the bank, which is always a good situation to be in. Some of that has gone into the transfer budget. I might even rejig it across. There is also a small part of me that thinks maybe I should save some of that money because, like the last few years, I'm probably going to have players who I have to promise we're going to improve the training facilities to, and having the money to improve the training facilities when that happens might avoid a headache later. I love the fact that Harry Kite isn't himself at the moment. He's down due to Rossi's arrival. Who wants to tell Harry that Rossi's been here for the last year and it's not impacted his game time? You've not got anything to worry about, Harry. He's not taking your position, mate. You're going to be fine. You played together all of last year. I don't know why you're crying now. This is the first year where offering trials to everyone doesn't actually feel that useful because we've grown to a point where the worst players that get released by all the big teams aren't actually good enough for us anymore. There was a time where this wasn't a problem. Now it definitely is. And whilst there are plenty of trialists here who could be useful, and we will just use in pre-season to avoid paying our actual players appearance fees and such, I'm not sure it's going to be as effective as it has been the last couple of years. There are some interesting players. Brandon Charles here is okay. Injury prone and inconsistent. I don't love. A player's name that I feel like I've not really mentioned as of late is Ellis Vaughan. Started last year by going out on the town and getting drunk. Since then, he's kind of just rotted away as a backup player I rarely use. He's been at the club so many years now. He's been with us through every single division, but I am trying to move him on. He's got 2 years left on his current deal. Somewhat ambitiously, I've been asking for 250k, which no one's bid. But apparently Portsmouth are interested in the Championship, so I might just offer him out for an unspecified amount and then ask for a percentage of next sale and just lock that in. Because I think ultimately, even if I sell him for absolute peanuts, if we can get, 50% of any future sale, it could end up resulting in a windfall down the line if he does actually end up being good. I feel like every time I've mentioned Vaughan, I've brought it up. This man has not developed since he signed for us. Little twist in the Scott Williams saga, he's announced he wants to explore his options at the end of his contract at Blackpool. I didn't realise his contract expires at the end of this year. They've also lowered his asking price now to 1.2 million, but he's picked up an injury for up to 4 weeks. So at the moment, if they sold him for 1.2 million, we'd only get £300,000. I mean, the cogs are going in the back of my head thinking, is there a way I can sign him back? But he doesn't want to join me on loan, and I don't have £1.2 million. Ben Acey is a man whose name has popped up a lot in the comment section. This is a guy who started his career at Guernsey and moved to Bristol City. Good player, lots of interest in him from some pretty decent teams. I want to sign him. I want to bring him back home to Guernsey, but apparently the financial package I'm offering him isn't enough to relocate. Even though I have to assume he's from Guernsey originally and all his family and friends are here, that apparently is irrelevant. So I have tried to sign him for all the commenters out there. I will continue to try and sign him, but this was probably our one shot to make it happen, and it's not going to happen. It's probably dangerous to be fixated on one player so much, but Harvey Jones, I had my eye on him last year and I mentioned it then. I'll mention it again now. I would love to sign this man. He is absolutely outrageous. Like, he reminds me of a young Matthew Lewis. Some people will know that reference. Many won't have watched me on YouTube 7 years ago. Pacey striker with a load of finishing, great natural fitness, really good mentals, but apparently we need to improve the squad significantly. So I suppose we should just sign a load of good players and hope that then he'll sign for us. Scout report has come in for Christodoulou. Apparently, he's very, very good. I mean, we kind of already knew that. Apparently, he might have championship potential. I'd love to sign him. I am a little bit concerned about his volatile temperament, but maybe we could tame the beast. I know I've complained about work permits causing me a load of issues. I am very tempted to set the scouting range to Europe for a month and then have a look at work permits. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. By that logic, I am definitely insane. But if there's one thing we've learned, I feel like, over our time here, it's that sometimes just getting these kind of players in does make a big difference. And also, Jordan Xerxes. Is he related to another Xerxes? There's another Xerxes brother, right? I thought it was the striker one. Yeah, Joshua Xerxes. Joshua's good, isn't he? Should we just sign Jordan Xerxes? It's like the non-league Xerxes, except they play different positions. Don't let that get in the way of a good nickname. He's not really what I need. I suppose one thing to note with all these players is I should probably offer them a load of money on longer contracts so that even if they're only going to get a work permit once, if they sign 3-year contracts, I still have them for 3 years, as opposed to the situation we found ourselves in recently where we're signing players and they're on like 1 or 2 year deals where they get the work permits but we'll never get them renewed. I need to, if I'm going to sign these players, make sure they can be long-term investments. This man was released by PSG. He's a goalkeeper, Osei Adamu. Am I crazy thinking I should just sign him? He must be good. He must be friends with Mbappe. He does want to be an important player. That could be a problem. I could offer all these guys trials, I suppose, and just see who actually takes me up on them. Bad news, they've all turned me down for trials. Gabua, I can't even say his name. I've had this guy in, what series was it? Was it the Racing Santander series I had this guy? He's actually quite good. I know I said earlier to Harry Kite I had no intention of replacing him. I might have lied. How much does Gabua want? He wants to be a star player. He wants the training facilities upgraded. He wants £800 a week. I'll give him 600. 600 3-year deal. Lock it in. What's he saying? Oh my word, he's taking me for a ride. I have to offer him a 50% wage rise if we make it to the Football League. I think that's probably worth it. I still feel like I've made a load of compromises here. He's still going to ask for way more. Why are you the way that you are? This is a lot of money for a player in a position that I'm not going to say I don't need. I didn't think it was top of my shopping list. I am just thinking, though, he could even play out on the right wing if you wanted him to. I mean, not that you'd really want him to, but in an emergency, it could happen. I could go with a midfield duo of Gabua and Kite, and then have Uemene as the sub. I mean, that would give you so much stability in the middle, I think. It's going to cost me some money, but I am going to also go and scout him. I feel like given the fact we've got the Rossi money, we can afford to do this kind of scouting mission. Teo Buyere here looks interesting. 19 years old, was playing for Nice, wants to be a backup player as well, which is really good. Wants £300 though to be a backup goalkeeper. How does he compare with McDonald? I just want to have a quick look here. I mean, you could argue in some regards he's better. As a player who's 19, I don't think he's necessarily a terrible idea as an investment. That said, he'd need to sign a 3-year deal, and I don't think I could pay him as much as he wants. I'll offer him £200, but because he's the backup goalkeeper, I'll up the appearance fee. He's probably not going to make that many appearances for us. He does want wage rises after the league games, which, if it was an outfield position, I'd probably be more lukewarm to. But given the fact it's a goalkeeping position, it's kind of one of those things where if he ends up playing 20 games for us, he is probably actually worth the £400 a week. 3-year deal, £250 a week, lots of clauses, which for an outfield player I wouldn't do, but for a goalkeeper I think we can afford to do. Obviously it is going to cost us the 20k in terms of asking for a work permit, but it should be granted. He didn't want to join me on trial. I could probably scout him anyway, and just, stomach that extra money. I suppose we've got to remind ourselves, we've got all the pre-season money coming in still. We're in a higher division now, so we should hopefully get more seats on bums in the stadium to make more money. And on top of all that, we've just sold Rossi for 200k. Worst case with a player like Teo here is that we lose him for nothing at the end of his contract and the wage demands haven't been that bad. It doesn't really work out for him as a backup. Best case, we sell him on for a few £100,000 to a team in Europe and everyone's a winner. I really wanted to like the Xerxes brother, but he's inconsistent, he's injury prone, and he doesn't play a position I need. Don't think I'm going to sign him. I did offer him a lot of money, but Christodoulou has agreed a contract for £1,300 a week for 1 year. I mean, I can't compete with that. I'd say I can't compete with that. Literally a contract offer made by a team in the league below us. That's mad. If this goes through, this would be massive. Gabua has got a work permit pending. We've got the scout report back. Super consistent, loves important matches, naturally fit, super adaptable. I think he could be absolutely immense as our box-to-box midfielder, especially with a gets forward whenever possible trait. Yeah, I think, you know what, we might not make many signings this year. I would tip this man to be one of our best. So this is how the squad depth screen is looking right now. Gabua currently waiting on a work permit. If he joins, I can see him definitely playing alongside Harry Kite. Of course, we've added in Ryan McGuinness at right back. And I think when we look across the board now, there is good depth in the midfield, Pretty good depth in goal. I think the one area of concern is perhaps the striking department. Out on the right-hand side, Rossi and Merry can play there. Out on the left, we've really got Willix, and then it's either Merry or Kitongo who's going to have to play out there. So a more natural backup left mid is probably an option to be looking at in what remains of the summer. In the final third, obviously, we've got NLBM, we've got Farquad, two players who I do want to give a chance to this year. I do have some concerns over Kyle's ability, just because his star ratings aren't that high in the eyes of our staff, although I do feel like with his good consistency, he can perform at this level. But I do feel like with the depth that we've got, given the fact that Tyler Forbes is featuring as a possible backup on 1 star, and Will Merry obviously features elsewhere in the team, maybe a striker is an order of the day as well. At the same time, if there's anything I've learned over the last few seasons, it's that you don't necessarily need to go and make signings right away for the sake of it. Sometimes you can wait as you go into the season for free agents to lower their wage demands, maybe lower their club expectations for the quality of team they want to play for, and as a result pick up some really good players for relatively cheap. And if I did have to start the season with the team as it stands right now, I think it could do an adequate job in the National League. Teo has joined the club, the backup goalkeeper, a good little option for us. He is the kind of player that I think if he develops, great. If he doesn't, we should be able to get some good money for him. He is undoubtedly better than our past backup goalkeeper, Jack Bycroft, who has a really healthy value. So I might try and shop Jack around a little bit, see if we can get any money for him. But even if we can't, I think Teo is just a useful player to have around. You can never have too much quality in depth in the goalkeeping position. And to make a good week even better, Yabua is set to join us. £600 a week for this guy, a 3-year deal. This is a mammoth offering. I am making a bit of a gamble here. I think it's a calculated gamble. He's going to suit our system really well. And as a box-to-box midfielder, yeah, he's maybe a little bit lacking in the technicals, but on overall balance, when you include his mentals and physicals in there, he's going to be very, very good for this level. Not entirely surprising to see him join us and instantly be, at least according to our staff, one of the best players at the club. He has loads of really good current ability, a good player for most Vanarama National League sides, and also apparently League One potential, which at 24 years old, can't really guarantee he's going to fulfill, but yeah, I think this man looks superb. I've just noticed, apparently he's valued at £2 to £5.2 million. If anyone wants to bid that, I will sell him for that right now. Merry has picked up an injury in pre-season. It happened last year. He got injured early on. Good news is he might miss the start of the season, but not too much of it. Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. He has had a few struggles with injuries, it feels like, over the last 12 months. Something that I totally forgot to mention earlier, but I did ask the board about getting some new affiliate clubs that we could loan players from. They granted that request and then didn't find anyone. So we currently have no affiliates to loan players, which is a bit of a problem because I think this is the kind of level where we could start to loan some pretty decent Football League kind of youngsters from, say, Championship and League One clubs. So a player that's been thrown up on my radar from my scouts is Adam Brooks. This guy was at Celtic's Academy. Looks like a really, really good striking option. Maybe lacks a little bit of ability in the air, but as an advanced forward, I think he could do a really good job. I am actually starting to question if you could maybe train him to play as a right winger even, just to give us a bit more coverage there. Don't love the fact he hates important matches, but he's a free agent, rated highly. He does want to be a star player. Let's offer him squad player, which he's going to accept, which is really good. He wants £2,000 a week. You know what? That hadn't happened yet today. I got my hopes up for a player and they had outrageous demands. Tick that off the transfer special bingo sheet. There's a couple of other players that I've sent my scouts to look at. Scotland feels like it might just be a bit of a gold mine for us. Luke McCowan here is another option. He was playing for Dundee previously. Didn't play all that much football last year for them, but has got regular minutes in the Championship. A super versatile player and really, really well-rounded. The fact he's left-footed is a big bonus because he could be that backup left winger that I kind of discussed a need for. Unfortunately, he also wants to be a star player. Fortunately, he also wants to negotiate down to squad player. He also wants £2,500. Why do these players show up as realistic transfers when I'm searching through players? I mean, Cameron Harper was another one of these young Scottish players that caught my eye and I've sent my scouts to have a further look at. They like the look of him, but I'm not even going to get my hopes up this time. It's going to be a trio, isn't it, of these outrageous demands. Moving on. It's taken a little while, but I have actually decided to sign one of the players we had in on trial. Brandon Charles does have issues with injuries, is inconsistent, but has some really good initial ability, has some really nice physicals, was released by Southampton at the end of his contract, and we've managed to pick him up for £80 a week as a fringe player. It's one of those ones where I want a little bit of depth in the striking department. Hopefully he won't kick up too much of a stink if he doesn't get game time. It's such a cheap investment for us that it's just great to have him at the club. And with kind of his pace and his ability off the ball, if we do bring him on against tiring defences, because I don't really see him starting all that often for us, I think he could be a useful tool in our arsenal. Maybe I've been selling Brandon Charles short because the fans seem to love him. He's got a really, really good star rating in our team. Maybe it's just my staff getting carried away. I suppose he does have really good physicals and some okay mentals in terms of vision and flair, but his actual kind of remaining mentals, they're a little bit potato. I mean, I'm looking at the stuff like 1 concentration, 4 bravery, 6 determination. It's not great, but you know what? If we bring him on, he does a little bit. Oh, that's fine. £80 a week, I can stomach it. If the season started tomorrow, this is the team we would be playing. Kite, Rossi, NLBM, Farquad, Willocks, all players that survived from last season. At the moment, Gibua and McGuinness, the only new additions to the team. I have no doubt that during the season we could add some more strength. The bench looks really strong as well. Of course, Jefferies has joined us as a good centre-back option who can also play left-back. That versatility is useful, especially with Charlie Osborne being a centre-mid who can play right-back. We kind of have the entire defensive area of the pitch covered with 2 players and a little bit of coverage in the midfield. Elsewhere on the bench, of course, you've got Iwameno, who is perhaps a slightly more attacking option to Osborne, and on top of him, we've got Kitongo, who can play anywhere in the final third, really proved his worth last year in the wide areas and through the middle, and the new signing, the new kid on the block, Brandon Charles, does sneak onto the bench, and yeah, I'm kind of looking at things now thinking, unless a player arrives from the heavens, this could be it to start the season. When I look at the transfer overview, whilst we've not done a load of business, I think the business we've done makes a lot of sense. Obviously, Zach Atkinson wasn't a player I wanted to lose, but sometimes you just can't keep players that you want to keep. That is the nature of Football Manager, especially when you can only offer players shorter-term contracts. Elsewhere, Carlos leaving us for a bit of money was good, especially in the last year of his contract where he wasn't going to get a work permit. Gianluca Rossi, of course, the big sale. 215k for him. And the fact we've loaned him back, I mean, that is a really great transfer for us. He is a player who has a load of ability. He's able to contribute for the remainder of this year. We get £200,000. We're not paying his wages, and we were going to lose him at the end of the year anyway. On the ins, of course, a little bit of depth with the likes of Teo and Brandon Charles, but Gibua and McGuinness offer us some real quality, I think, in the team. McGuinness is going to slot in at right back and I hope hit the ground running. As a right wing back, he's lacking a little bit when it comes to his ability with the ball at his feet, but I have got him trained with his ball control to work on his dribbling, first touch and technique. The last few transfer specials have run all the way up to the start of the season. I want to avoid doing that today. I want there to be a little bit of suspense. Could we sign some new players before the first game of the season against St Albans? I suppose you'll have to wait to find out. St Albans, a team we should be winning, a chance for us to get off to hopefully the best possible start with 3 points. Looking at the updated pre-season preview, right at the beginning we were predicted to be in 20th. All of a sudden we're predicted to be in 12th. Slightly unusual scenario though. We have no players in the Media Dream 11. If you have enjoyed today's video, please make sure to drop a like on it. It genuinely does make a difference in terms of pushing the video out, helping it hit YouTube Gaming for trending and all that good stuff. Hopefully you've enjoyed the action. Let me know what you think of my transfer moves thus far. Is there any positions I should be strengthening? I still feel like I'd like a new left winger. Maybe another striker if possible. Although if Brandon Charles is as good as everyone thinks he is, maybe he is the striker that I feel like we need, and we already have him. Until next time, take it easy. I'll see you guys again tomorrow for more Park to Prem action. Tell your family, tell your friends. Park to Prem Season 5, it starts tomorrow. I'll see you then.